dream to take off and land with because it has that big wide gear. So Chris certainly doesn't need that. He doesn't need the help, but it does help the aircraft on the ground with its ground handling capabilities. He just turned on the navigation lights and he's getting ready to go.
Which was conservative, technically. Like if you look in this way, you might see the fuel sloshing in the name.
See how he's flying slow with the flaps down, doing that slow pass? That shows you how slow this airplane can fly. However, it's a great airplane for a transitional airplane or for a super high performance airplane. You generally don't want to start out on a big warbird like an F-16 as a trainer. Just like the Navy and the Air Force, they don't start you out in F-16s and F-18s. They start you out in trainers and you work your way up. And we do that in this hobby as well. And I'm going to plug the West Field again about our training program out there with our trainers. So if you look to the left, you'll see that field over there. It's just a half a mile up the road. Jump in the car. Don't be shy. Go out there and fly. Tie your hand at it. Beautiful knife edge pass going into a knife edge figure eight. I'm going to gather is what he's going to do. A horizontal lathe at knife edge. Takes a lot of concentration to do that, especially at those speeds and that low. You know, we haven't mentioned much about the electronics. So at this field, most everybody, I would say, flies what's called a brand called Spectrum. That's a very, very common brand. It's a good quality product. And it's a Spectrum. There's a few boutique. Futaba used to be one of the big brands. They've kind of gone out of favor in the last few years. I fly JR, which is Japan Remote. You know, JR was almost out of business a few years ago, and they've resurrected, but I've always flown JR, so it's comfortable for me. But it's a little different brand. It would be considered a boutique brand. The stuff that Chris flies, he's got some Spectrum stuff, but right now I think he's flying what's called Powerbox. And Powerbox is a company that's kind of new on the market for the United States. Super top shelf stuff. Amazing ability to program stuff. Top quality electronics, the mechanisms, the machining of the equipment, it's just top quality. You guys see that? That's crazy Chris up there flying, doing crazy aerobatics. We really enjoy that. It's a lot of fun to see him. As I mentioned earlier, Chris had a little bit of a learning curve when he came up here. Not in flying, but in flying at our altitude. The air is much, much thinner. Look at how slow that is. That's about 25 miles an hour of a plane that can go 10 times that speed. Not that it'll go... He was a little too far out for that pass for us to measure it. Joe, I think you should go out and stand in the middle of the runway and jump up and down and do jumping jacks. I'm just kidding, because we do stay behind the line for a reason. There's a safety deadline that we never fly south of, which is the south edge of the runway. If you do fly south of that, it better be an emergency because everybody's going to heckle you about it. But we don't want anybody to get hit or to get hurt. It's just too important. That airplane weighs probably 50 pounds. And again, which is very not scale-like, but it's super fun to watch. So Chris likes to put on a fun show. We call this the split out of ordinary. You've seen all of us flying around with our jets. We'll go and do a big pass, and we'll do a big dirty pass. We'll make sure everything's good. Chris, he goes up, goes vertical, he drops the flaps, he drops the gear, he comes into what we call the split S landing. Look at that, walking speed right there. Give a big round of applause for a great flight, and another round of applause for being our contest directors so that we can be out here and you guys can be out here enjoying the show.